Let me paint you a picture. You look outside and see muddy streets, shouting vendors, ringing bells and people hammering, selling, running and begging. It's a mix of chaos, noise and work. Now I'm, of course, talking about medieval streets, gritty, grimy and brutal.
In the period of which we speak, there reigned in the cities a stench barely conceivable to us modern men and women.
Or at least that's what movies and shows made us believe. But is it true? Was it really that loud and dirty in the Dark Ages? And what did people actually do all day? In these videos we compare history to Hollywood and examine how much the portrayals on our screens are exaggerated. It's early morning, and as we step outside our medieval house onto the streets, we must be vigilant. Don't look up, but carefully observe every step. Because when someone mentions a story depicting the European medieval era, the first thing that comes to my mind is not knights and castles. It's poop.
Alright Jack, you can offload here.
The Dung Ages movie trope shows these streets as grim, filthy, and full of peasants covered in lies, mud, and yes, shit.
You're late. Where have you been? Aye, sorry here. We'll keep clean off, took an age to fix it. Yeah, right. Come on.
Everything smells, even the nobility. Yeah, the castles are bigger than cottages, but are as disgusting and dirty. Now, according to historians, that's not exactly true. Yes, medieval life was hard and full of disease, but most people practiced personal hygiene. They washed their hands, faces and teeth, they changed their pants and used public bathhouses. They did laundry in the rivers and even had toilets.
Please, sir.
These weren't like out in public too.
Dehors avec les bêtes.
Sanitation laws were introduced in the 13th century, and although not strictly enforced, they required people to clean the streets in front of their homes. Or, medieval neighborhood Facebook groups would be on it. By the 1400s, there were public street cleaners paid from taxes. Yes, there was still crap dumped in the rivers and outside, but people complained about it.
Does somebody not know how to flush a toilet after they've had a shit?
Me.
Well, I was fucking one of yes. Disgusting!
And I'm sure it would be bad if we were transported to the Dark Ages with modern cleaning standards, but not as bad as movies tend to show.
Who's that then? I don't know. Must be a king. Why? He hasn't got shit all over him.
And these days, we don't need a helping hand. We have bidets.
If they steal from us again, we'll have more aspiring outlaws than servants to wipe my shit. Take care, fool. You're not scrubbing a floor.
We are strolling through the streets and alleys, and you notice something. No one's wearing headphones. But how can we protect ourselves from the medieval sound and street noise? And do we have to? When we watch the streets of medieval city, we see and hear a crowded, bustling place. It's what movies usually show. They were animals, carts and people going about their daily lives. But the issues weren't too different from what we have today. So, for example, traffic was a big problem with illegal building sites, cars everywhere, and goods obstructing the roads. Even speeding laws were in place. Empty carts couldn't go too fast. Carts and wagons damaged roads and cobblestones. And to control it a little bit, laws were enacted. According to medievalists, if you were selling old clothes in Bristol, you had to keep them in your hands, not on the street. In Leicester, building materials couldn't sit outside for more than 3 days. Animals like pigs have caused accidents and left waste everywhere. So it was noisy, it was dirty, it was busy, it was chaotic. And to be fair, watching the various clips, I reckon the movies and shows minimize the messiness. They capture the visual aspect quite well, but in reality, the constant sound of medieval life must have been much louder.
The market would have been a very vibrant, colourful and smelly place. A lot more animals and livestock around being walked to market as well.
But of course, we must hear the dialogue. We must hear the music in the movies. So the sounds of life are lowered in a mix, and the truth is somewhat adapted to storytelling needs. It's good to know that not much has changed, except that now we hear car horns instead of animal noises and get Uber Eats bikes instead of cars. And of course, people playing TikToks loud on their speakerphones. So maybe it actually got worse. As we make our way through the noisy streets of medieval Europe, it'd be good to get some tools, some weapons, some armor. So let's stop at the craftsman district and pop into a blacksmith.
We shall work.
In the Kingdom of Heaven, we see how laborious the work was, the red-hot iron sparks everywhere, the sound of hammer striking at the piece of metal on an anvil, the steam, the grind, the grunt are all playing in perfect harmony. But medieval smithing wasn't just about brute force. Blacksmiths were essential craftsmen and central to warfare and daily life.
Without the blacksmith, we don't have carriages, we don't have ships. The carpenter doesn't have tools, the farmer doesn't have tools, and without the blacksmith, we don't have anything to cook with.
It was an artistic skill that accompanied the work, and it cost money.
I promise you I will, just as long as
Money!
According to sources, even though cheap weapons and basic armor for foot soldiers were mass-produced, that's not the only thing you could get from a blacksmith. If you wanted to flex, the knight's armor would be equivalent to thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in today's money. It was a high-status item with coats of arms, lining and engraved mottos. So even though movies portray the forge pretty well with the sound of the tools and sparks from the iron, it's important to remember that medieval blacksmiths weren't just laborers operating a medieval B&Q shop, but respected artists and craftsmen. After walking the whole day, dodging poop and animals, listening to annoying people,
We have found the witch! May we burn her!
I think it's time to visit the markets and get something to eat. But where did they keep the food trucks? Medieval markets, which were not so different from today's food stalls, were full of life, loud and chaotic.
Crush this mixture into powder. Stir in the egg of the red starling. You must lay the paste thin over the scabs.
Women would sell eggs, dairy, ale and felt, and men usually sold meat, bread and fish.
Fresh pies. Would you like a pie, sir?
What do you have, my dear?
We have game pie, sir.
Bless you.
So there were the usual food staples. But we could also find exotic luxuries like sugar, cinnamon, leather and silk, especially if a trade route was nearby.
Where ships from around the Mediterranean came in, you could bring in all sorts of exotic products to that market and to that region. They would have come across as luxury goods.
So it was traveling merchants as well as peasants who tended the market towns, usually held in open spaces or halls with wider streets to get the carts in and out, get the crowd flowing, with enough room to shout and haggle.
I like it. Would this flatter me?
I think you'd flatter it, my lady. It's a little heavy for summer, though, I think.
Held on different days to avoid competition, markets were not just about food and drink. They were a sort of medieval shopping mall where people could spend time, gossip, and listen to the news. Many films and shows achieve the overall look pretty well, you know, the wooden stalls, the chaos, the energy. What's sometimes lacking is the diversity of sellers, variety of produce, and role of women who dominated many town markets. After visiting and strolling through medieval streets, it's time to get home. It's getting dark and there is no electricity or Uber to get us there safely. We watch some movies and shows which, with better or worse accuracy, portrayed daily life hundreds of years ago, full of chaos, sound, colors, and sometimes mud and poop. Now, I'm a movie lover and an audio guy, not a historian, so we are in this together trying to separate the lies from the truth. If you have any complaints, you have the comment section, just be nice, I have a fragile ego. I think we can all agree that we learned something today. Not only do the stories on our screens sometimes get it quite well, but also not much has changed. People went to work, complained about traffic, bought unnecessary things at the markets and tried to live their lives. A little less clean, but as loud as today. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.
Let me hear your war cry! You find something funny, maggot?
Sir, no, sir!
You love the Middle Ages, don't you?
Sir, yes, sir!